32 projects, and President Mahama, God willing, inshallah, he will finish this before he leaves office. Tackle the market circle, we want to finish it. Comfanochi Teaching Hospital Maternity Home, we want to finish it. The Kumasi KJTR Phase 2, we want to finish that.
Mamu Akwaba ebiem emra dwumadie so after set 2026 budget no eko ewie no enkomo bebre ene frache eba finance minister Akuffo wenya butra chensemu ekwan a oman Ghana His Excellency John Mahama enena ban wo mo ba be faso na o mabu oman no education sector afi energy sector economy no edien ena wo mo edi agu akwam finance minister nya butre atcheche 2026 budget nim ensem bebre ene womti mesra hefo se obeje bre na yakọ na afi ya ji akonya na he video no awie a enkomodi ache na busua esewani ensa me ena me kachontime so se obenya butre na watie nsam a finance minister ede atuda na ewie a ebedi mu nkomo.
At the same time creating jobs. In doing that, instead of spreading ourselves so thin, we said we will invest heavily in 3 key areas of the economy. The first is road, the second energy, and the third energy, agriculture. So you will see considerable investment in these areas.
Okay. We don't know what a man for say 1%. Yet so nipa.
Nti da ya kan wasem.
Okay.
Oye 3. Men kan kase ho. Okay. Okay. Yo. Da mpeda me kan wasem da men zama ba sen ya kan wasem. Oye the second leg in ekwana ye be fado a aban obe spend another obe investment in those areas or de dwuma baba. No ba be dibadaba. No way to transform Ghana's economy. That is the second layer. Now, the third also has to do with anytime you are doing another abanibia or year consolidation bia, there is a group of people or the vulnerable in society. And so we call it social protection. How do you protect the vulnerable? The poor in particular. So we have considerable also investment in the area of school feeding, LEAP, people with disabilities, special schools and all. At the same time, the education health budget has also gone up very much to be able to remove double track and to be able to also build more schools in certain areas, education onto school than into many ho. Na yes teacher for one accommodation na or your health so we had earlier on promise to build regions one new hospitals and regional hospitals and where 6 be able to build the 6 for them, but we are beginning with the first 3. You told me your first 3 within 1.5 years, then we can do the remaining 3 in the 1.5 years. Then we have the security service. How to retool the Ghana Army in particular, and also the fire service. Today, fire service, one of fire tenders across the country and working. Eko baby cry na say ijato baby abi wa bakra na why am to kakra ehwe bi wo social media do na za onye encouraging. We are building a country. You need to retool the fire service. Nyim baby a sebe asembesi. It can be you, it can be someone, but the fire service must get some basic equipment. And so the focus is on the security service and also on the fire service. But let me move to the rail sector. Baby a sebe transformation in a drama obotumwa. With the energy sector, for every economy to be powered properly, another obotum winning, you will need reliable energy and you need affordable energy. What makes power affordable? One, it's not just the thermal plant, but also the fuel that we're using. Over the years, since we had a atuabo gas processing plant in the ENI gas, yen consumption no yen consumption no kosoro. And as a result, in thermal plant ni na no, and gas na or you're producing only enough until you resort into light crude oil. Na yokoto na yetumi yede book power or ye electricity. As a result, oma power generation bo bayeden, and sometimes the instrument to be or the or ye doom so no. When we took office in January, we took a decision that the margin or the year immediately you to me fixing. And how do we fix it? Today you don't see doom so. I'm sure you can agree to that. It's simple because you to me yen Jubilee partners and OCTP partners akasa. In the last 6 months, we have added additional 50 million standard cubic feet of gas per day. So we have enough gas to power our thermal plant. But that is not all. We have some thermal plants here or emergency thermal plants on normal power generation no because they came in as emergency, and emergency rates are different from a normal rate. Okay, some of them will be exiting about 2027, some 2028. So we are proposing the government of Ghana to build its own thermal plant, 1,200 megawatts of power generation capacity. This is bigger than Akuffo Dam. Akuffo generates 1,080. This one would generate 1,200 megawatts, so that you know that the next 10 years, Ghana any problem with it. In doing that, AC power plant now, you will need fuel to power it. A quarter light crude oil are expensive, so government will first agree, as we are speaking with you, as I speak with you, we have agreed with the IPPs, independent power producers. In Temenyoka say, not IPPs, OCTP partners and ENI. OCTP partner and ENI. We've also agreed with the Jubilee partners, led by Cosmos and Talo. They are investing approximately, the two of them put together, about $4 billion United States dollars to bring up to 150 million standard cubic feet of gas per day to be able to produce 1,200 megawatts of power. That will begin January 2026. The production of the new gas field, by the time the power now you're producing or your power plant you're building also we. So we expect that between 2027 December to June 2028, we should have 1,200 megawatts of power and its corresponding fuel to be able to power this country. And that, we call it gas to power. So that will mean power plant or your state owned. Your gas with more power. And that can guarantee this country affordable power and reliable power, at least for the next 10 years, until demanding ama doom soda forever and ever, at least for the next 1 decade. It will be a thing of the past. But that will mean that successive governments will also have to plan for the future and not to wait until consumption do demanding to a level demand and supply will meet and send back to where we were in the past. So that is the first step. And you cannot grow an economy without power. And so it's the foundation of the growth that we are going to procure. If you want to attract investment in manufacturing, in exploration, in industry, you need cheaper power and reliable power. And that is where we are going.
I see. Say can be about job creation and it's said they see here air work. Say sanka enyuma bibiri wo ho nanka maburu nya bi ya anka ye mai ni office mu nkogo bibiri sa so ka job creation a yenim say na nkoma na ye di ansa na wo ba no ye nyenim say aban ye fa adwuma ye fa kakra bi keke no fa na the private sector atumi afa bibiri na but private sector no susu wo ka power asamu ye wura no ye adwuma special IC e wura no de this way na asefo nyina wo mo they are into manufacturing And one, almost soon about power nebo.
Correct.
So name na mahode bo. Almost sign a soon say taxes in the mahod so and also almost soon nebo. Say if the private sector is the engine of growth, say they are more candidate be anoa. And then a more year, and there must private sector. No, say be who between here, no expanding, let me farm able to be account.
In every country, private sector na offer impact, not the government. Even in the most advanced countries, private sector takes like 90% and government employs 10% of the population, the working class. In the case of Ghana, we have a population of 33 million, maybe the working population about 10 billion, 9 million people. Government of Ghana employs like about 1 million. 1 million now, your employer will take about 47%, 48% of total tax revenue. So, you pay 1 million, what for 1 million, what for Sikani fund the 47%. And then what happens to the remainder of the population, the 32 million people? You need to build schools, you need to build hospitals, you need good roads, you need to protect the vulnerable and many others. And so you need a balance between employment and also to provide social good and public good for the people. So often is the private sector that you encourage on to be able to absorb. It is everywhere in the world. Now, for the private sector to be able to employ, the private sector will survive government policy. Interest rate is coming down. See, a private business person, in the past, last year around this time, they were borrowing 35, 40%. Today, it's about 20-something percent, 28, 26%. We believe by the end of the year and going into next year, the private sector will be borrowing in the teens, maybe upper teens, between 18-19%. They should be able to borrow that from the bank. And the way inflation is going, where the central bank is going, where T-bill rate is, will be able to assist the private sector to borrow less. The cost of doing business include taxes, particularly VAT. And what we've done also in this budget is to reduce the cost of doing business by 6%. One, if you look at the current VAT structure that we are trying to reform, it's maybe a year in day, or yeah, maybe today a COVID levy, it's a cost to business because even though it's treated as VAT, you do not have the opportunity to deduct that from your input VAT. And so it's a cost to business. Number two, the decoupling of NHIL, get fund levies, from VAT, also means that you add it to your business cost, 2.5. The two put together 5%, plus COVID levy 6%. Decoupling if you are, it reduces business cost by 6%. In reducing business cost by 6%, we've given back 6 billion cedis to support businesses and households. In doing that, their profitability will improve. One profitability will improve, they will be able to plow back some of the gains that they have made to improve their business or maybe employ some more. But I can say that the design of this particular budget, jobs, was the key feature in designing this budget. And so most policies are announced apart from the social protection policies. We design it with its job creation potential. And so, for example, if we announce the national oil palm policy, how many people can we employ? It is proven all over the world. If you go to Indonesia, Malaysia, and others, they are saying that every hectare of oil palm plantation employs 3 people. Every hectare employs 3 people. 2.5 people. In the case of Africa, it employs 3 people because they use more mechanization than Africa uses, a little bit more labor than them. So if we are to do 100,000 hectares and we are doing 3 people, in the case of Africa, it's 300,000 people. But I was conservative. I used 2.5 people, thinking that in modern plantation, the people that may be going through the plantation and be doing the plantation, they will employ 2.5 because they also use machinery, just like what is happening in Malaysia and Indonesia. So 100,000 hectares we are trying to cultivate will automatically employ up to 250,000, or maybe scale it up to about 300,000, but I use 250,000. The kind of investment that we are doing in road sector, we are spending required some significant amount. In the budget, you will notice that we have allocated 30 billion cedis to improve the roads of our country. 30 billion cedis under the big push infrastructure. So 30 billion cedis, we have identified key routes at President Mahama, all around, or Katiso, the contractors and what start. This 30 billion. There's UN metrics on job creation around roads investment. And it shows you the jobs you can create, direct and indirect. This metrics I'm talking about has been collaborated by the World Bank. In fact, there's even a study on Ghana. You can even check it even on your phone. If you Google it, you'll find out. The metrics tells us the amount of, if you spend $1 million, how many people you can create in jobs in terms of, what do you call it, road construction. We have also estimated that the budget we have allocated for this year, the contract we have awarded already, will be able to create up to 450,000 jobs in the Big Push area alone. Aside that, outside Big Push, Road Maintenance Trust Fund has been allocated 3 billion cedis. We have also allocated 4.3 billion cedis also to the Ministry of Roads themselves. So the two put together plus the Big Push will give you about 37 billion. Not only that, we are looking at other investment in agriculture. Okay, okay. Inti fantina maka.
Fantina yo.
Inti da me pere maka bi onye de. Dem sika ye kawa iska ya bone tofan na ye da ma de yemfon koye oye Carl Kwanen. Ni na obotum aboa ema eyi ofred edwuma we create because the construction or labor intensive pa.
True.
Say how the fakaswe kwan do. Nafa you offend then in some kwani. These are two areas that war your roads. If we need power work another, ibire kaka, ibire mix, ibire them, or one of the industries that will create a drama. So the amount of road construction across the country, we have estimated the number of people able to be employed on. Into them estimation, it gives us 450,000 up to contractors now. We'll move to site. There's the number of people we can employ. And it's based on direct and indirect. Some are being directly employed. Some only project no to them on construction when you do obi so or quarry shop in a way quarry no way no wakoto if in Kenya construction and be quarry no on kodo on so when you do my ibi so why be otonsu insu no ye construction and the nsu no on ba until they ascertain or direct and indirect jobs in a canina album nti yakaka album no me them numbers. The Ministry of Trade and the power plant we are going to build, you estimate, you saw the new Accra Kumasi Expressway we are going to build. We expect that to take us 3 years. And President Mahama, God willing, inshallah, he will finish this before he leaves office by 2028. And so some of the things we are putting in place and the structures we are putting in place, health, education, look at the number of schools we are building. All the schools will create jobs. Look at the number of dormitories we'll be building in the secondary schools. The number of categories, C schools, a year baby, C school done to end the double track. Hospitals, a year baby, Agenda 111 now, previous administration will leave it behind. We have picked 10 of them to complete. We want to finish them. Not only that, we have allocated an equivalent of $250 million to be able to finish some of the abandoned projects that previous administration or start your than EJ. But today, Takra the Market Circle, we want to finish it. We want to make sure the Kumasi, the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital Maternity Home, we want to finish it. We want to finish the Kumasi KJTR Phase 2. We want to finish that. We have a number of them that have listed. There are about 32 projects, of which we are targeting about 5 of them for this, the upcoming fiscal year, or year 2026, to finish. Then the next fiscal year, we can tackle another and finish it gradually. So, as I said, every single policy in this budget was designed with jobs in mind. Because, ija, no kwa na yanka, but omani edumenyi Ghana ha. And Brante Nembebun, no quarum, they are suffering. I mean, it is so wrong for Obi to finish university and to wait for 6 years, some 5 years before they get job. And we have a responsibility as government to design policies in such a way to attracting. If we sit here and create impression that abanon kotin botuma afa nyimpa bebrea wa fagana fui na wo pedwuma ya, we'll be lying to ourselves. Sebeja here yetna hi, apart from me abanadwuma and honorable Vondia ono so ye MP ono so ye abanadwuma chenka fo hu na sebe mwana moye mwadwuma. But the truth is, you are still better off than a number of people who are way abanadwuma. Anamobwa. And when I were here, a piece of from Polo, you are contributing. And you know something? Oftentimes, we look for the big companies. But you see, jobs are better created with the small, medium companies. Nimpakor, ebi wafa nimpa 5. You are for nimpa 3. You are for nimpa 2. You are for nimpa 3. Kakabubuma. As long as the income is decent, as long as the income is decent, is good enough. Inti your private hospitals wo, you be a doctor or aban hospital, but since you're a doctor or private hospital, be ho aban or your nurse wa, instead of there be a ban befaden private hospitals, so another private clinic wa fan. They are all part of job creation. Inti aban responsibility in the obe design or ye policies are another in share papa botum wabwa mo bi nso wenye dwuma so your factor, and we are mindful of that and we'll do that. And I just want to assure you the abani nyimide dwuma ho asem or issue wo mane mu nti ye be ne kakra na me sure the embre payment Ghana for akoma boto wonyem the dwuma reba nam kwando reba obaba so mo ho so de wenye dwuma ye
se hwe bibia kame se Ghana ha no obi oye hoho rese abrofo adwuma enyini e o Ghana ha na womo ba obman no wo hihye bibrede ma womo se tax exemption ni nasefo nti e momutu be establish adwuma mo mu bie mu ye bi ka bie mu betu me pesa me advert ama company bi ese bibia be ko bia no omo bibia omo toto ne ma no mu bie bibre omano what tax exemptions in Sanya man de boa mo hiha omo. Yeah. But ye local people na ye Ghana frankasa no. Sa tax exemptions no. Ye shede nya bisa.
Thank you.
Enti no ma ye bre bodi no so abegbe na djuma ya sama tax exemption no. O wi an sika no de ko. Ghana ni no no benya tax exemption e betumi aboa ma no so establishing yi na sika na ka Ghana no. Ye ma tax exemption ni. Enti no ade no ye pia mo bi de ko ye fie so na e basa ehihye be na wo ho e de masa ankorankoro yi a e be boa ma wo so motumi hin ha no ma spade sade akosi buru ni ba obayi no Ghana.
Tax exemption ho asem obi onyi miye bia knows my views about tax exemption. My colleagues in parliament, those who knows me well, knows that I'm not a fan of tax exemption. And clearly businesses companies in Bawukrum because of tax exemption. Companies waba because they know that they will make profit, and any good company want to pay tax. Now, the more you are taxing, the more you win opportunity. What you make a bank, the way to win any business. So I have always said, and what you've said in public, everybody knows about it. This modern day, I think everybody has to pay something to contribute towards Ghana Nedanchi. Some tax exemption or the mama ubiara onyebi, but it won't be arbitrary. So for example, if we decide the agriculture sector, our local, let's say palm plantation or your buying policy, the warmer tax exemption, it doesn't matter who you are. Say you're Ghanaian, say you're foreigner, say you're Ghanaian, everybody must benefit. On fa baby if you are Ghana, on fa party adom, on fa sorako. As long as a human wa Ghana had, you should also benefit from it, so that it's not arbitrary done, and we could breed the corruption. Now in phobia kwatna hode ono no obahwe be nze de aidema krubi or the bay 1D1 for wenima na wada wazaba parliament one wenima one for wazaba parliament. That is not the way. My position at the time is that if you want to give incentives to business to do 1D1 put it in the law. Let them, everybody benefit from it. Go and do it. Don't go to a particular ministry or GRA for you to be granted tax exemption. I mean, Obandama, Obi wo ha obotum aye but onyim obiara wa benem. Onyim obiara panyin bia nanso ono onye bi. Obi wo ho no onyim obi nti ono botum enye bi. That is what I don't like. Put it in the law. Allow whoever qualifies to also assess it pepepe the Minister of and that is what I was going. Sersha, in the last few months, there hasn't been tax exemptions. Yesterday, I submitted one to Parliament. It was something the previous administration did. I need to rectify it before we can implement it. When I signed a contract, now I'm a contractor. No. It was Tata Holding, GRA, no, was signing it before, and the previous minister endorsed it. But did not go to Parliament then. But the contractor now what the contract and the money start, but he cannot continue until the Parliament will ratify. So I have a responsibility as a Minister of Finance, and government is continuing to submit same to Parliament and get Parliament to approve. Same na me negotiate here. I may not negotiate tax exemption for that company, but it has been negotiated. It is something I inherited. I have to make sure it is done, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure. As long as government of Ghana has signed it, or your government of Ghana any obligation, and that obligation must be met. So I sent it to Parliament, and I heard some few people asking me, I took pan or the tax exemption at Parliament here, knowing my views about tax exemptions. But I just want to state that it's not something I negotiated. In fact, rather what I did was, when I took office, the contract that was negotiated was 53 million United States dollars. I've negotiated it down to 44 million United States dollars, saving approximately $10 million, including the tax exemption that has come down. So rather, we've given something back to the people of Ghana, and it's before Parliament. Hopefully, next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Parliament will get opportunity and debate on it. When it's approved, then the contractor can continue his job. Okay. But I have a responsibility to make sure I ratify that by body on the
big push in about me big push so there's somewhere can you this kind
of course, correct.
More you COVID tax in FIHO. And horse neck in a big crack. And the year, yes, more ye FIHO. Scan confess can way. As I say, yes, say more say more more purpose, and so when yes, candidate do a man who bought man who branch can move far away. It is kind of better with this.
Okay, Eja, tax or a very complex something. It's a tax rate, you know, or a fair, I know you're reasonable, you get almost everybody to pay. But so old level be not so so kesi bebrea na de boy de nyimpa no kra na oye mo sincere no botum wa we tua tax no kra do olotwen na na ase because anhwe ne ye ya olutua tax na go ho kra no ho akokom ana de na dwuma kra say. Unfortunately, in economics we have something we call the Laffer curve effect. So it get to a level be a boy there abanon baby a tax no couldn't compliance and overform. Unfortunately, that is where we are with our value-added tax system. In Tiwama, sadly, our VAT system is failing, and so it's required that immediately. Now, reforms. Reforms na no. Ye movie or ye effective VAT rate from 21.9, call it 22% easily, and then you're removing to 20%. COVID levy way for ye cascade in info. We've given 6% back. In doing that, what we have done there, you lessen the burden on the good taxpayer. At the same time, we have attracted nimpana what's the tax no you too high into to also come in. And we are also introducing fiscal electronic devices for VAT processes. So, from next year, Obia in UC or offend the VAT receipt in the bill.
Okay.
Yeah, the new system rubber. After the passage of the budget, I'll start the public education. The new system will be that you will have a POS, a fiscal electronic devices to be able to generate or VAT receipt. Now when second receipt no so there will be a serial number. Serial number no your board drawer benya cash VAT cashback. Inti bosom biara no your bohwe the best taxpayer. Inti we receipt na ekokota or your VAT receipt. You can win a house, you can win a car, you can win a motor, you can win TV, you can win something, you can win cash. You can get 1 million, you can get 2 million, you can get 10 million, depending on what you have won. Every month it will be drawn. So that will encourage people, one, to demand their receipt, and two, not only to demand their receipt, but also our name, my baby, my Jimmy receipt, and make Korean or changing pana also ejevat and other also to my ban. So to encourage everybody and it will bring the compliance back. With all of these measures we are putting in place, it will help my tax no wa kosoro obokoso to the level onye the tax and the bibia no it's be to do na sebe rate no wa kosoro nkote. I think immediately after the budget in January we come out with public education, intensive public education. You check the VAT no wa before you introduce a PUS, you introduce a cashback, now obi a general receipt na ama abanoso sika kakro butume. And I believe that this system will work, and if it does work we can even go further in the nearest future. You're reducing from maybe 20 to 19 or from something. But first, your first bit, your family. Waka the Ghana for solo. The Ghana for so why your family there. On no ban encourage a ban, my banners with my then. Baba food. What's on no something.
Yeah, share back could be most inflation about from $1 no a swatsi. And mana aye and Professor Mufili. Me who say, woko. I think takrade yes. Markets be abuso kan for da be na be come che no so
pache
o ma hunu say esan say no musu ba ko pan say dollar kosoro ye no mudi komo ofia de nko de bia ya na mo ka say dollar koso ntina spare parts bo aye den ba almost a year ni dollar no wo from o ma mo share ye bo say o metete ne ma so ba still kredo be kre say ko mo to so kra wo ya hu bia e say ba ni sa e ho no wo ye ne den
okay in there we operate a free market economy. Ghana, you need price control. As we normally use demand and supply and the competition to adjust prices. I think time dollar started city no layered the dollar local forming. Some felt the or a 9-day wonder until they held back into one prices. Now that there's evidence that dollar no wa Akuffo no wage na city no wage na nandun, I think people will adjust naturally. It takes a bit of time to build confidence, and na makan nyimpa no so wo hedge kakra okofa ade na ba sade ma menhwe kakra o mentom dem price na mekwatse odo na sade na anyi ye a o da sembaba or your mindset, and I can understand them. It is for us also to continue the effort I put in place to assure them that at least regime na waban one share no ojina ho into butumai them. I'm sure those listening to us damatuma catch on one de amanumbu onya aba no koti no boman yanka sanso Ghana fo no so yaka ho bi nti aban be ye na famide ba waso ye Ghana nya oda waso ye wa famide nti aban ye na famide na se aban ne de no ore ye no so nya e be ka ho asema so wo so wo de no nya oda wo so ye nti tuma ka ho asema chiro. Because when the currency was depreciating, no, ye na ye tena ye kada abanda o ye no nye na ho kyere aba na ore ma ho kyere ko nti na ye tutu nzama mu. Sade no so wa aba foma. A wo so atonada wo so kofa ade ne fi baby ba. Sebe imported na de ba you. Don't stick to your old price. You to bring it down. Because once when you nipa Ghana fu ye na ye ban amani. Nti ye ka aba na o ya me na wo. Onye sebe ho na sebe watu aba mo na na de wo parliament nkotin and de amampanyin na watu aba ma na we yi ne ministers nkotin. It's all of us, or a collective. Nti moko market ne de no kwarem. The market women themselves will confess the what it was amado. And you can call the market women. They were the one telling
tomatoes near money
and I agree that some other places there's some more work to be done. I will continue my engagement. I can't force them, but I can continue investment and apply moral switching. And I maybe Yame ya doma where Ghana FUI, the way the stability has come to stay, they will bring the prices. One of them said to me some time ago, I share a Kromenism Comose, Honorable Nokwane de, Yena ye jeju to me de, Sisia Nzama Ayafu. Number Inkani ya boka do until Moma Yanto Kakana and Sana. Until Bia, Ibinu Moto Cow, but Imbripimin, I think that. And clearly, inflation numbers are reflecting. Inflation numbers are reflecting. Food and non-food inflation is coming down fast. We began the year with inflation at 23%. Today, we're at 8%. I believe we'll end the year around 6.5. That is where I am projecting, looking at where we are going. And if we're able to do 6.5, next year, I'm projecting inflation to be 8 plus or minus 2. So it means inflation can go as low as 6 next year. That is my focus. And I'll work and I'll make sure that we'll get there. I'll put policies in place to anchor the currency, and I'll make sure, working with the central bank, we'll build enough reserves to be able to defend the currency. And in all of this, fiscal discipline is the answer. The idea you be answer, you be na you to me protect our ban, my ban with 200 shesha papa to that.
And as for say 150,000 more for beer. I didn't tell my
already. When was that? I think about a month ago, I granted me sign a friend and we call demonstration. What we need from Nywanka said I will do it, but I need to first of all see ability to pay. It's not just like signing. It's signing to your account. To me sign 13,000 nurses. Mami Nywanka say controller or process one currently. Or the year you only feel. No way you do maybe and sign a creative space for and sign the for account and number one. We also sign 13,000 for or education workers. Always a for once we process one American say or the process one no one se kana sabe bi no more so we do from January or the tua one back pay ni na ama hon na e clear them zamani na na hu there at least when you mad ho and sana I start for
nti enye se bia ogbo apaye se munye bibi say omo the message bibiri by
if you want an akotu if you want an akotu already budget 90 billion cedis na yedutua wages and salaries 90 billion cedis. It's about 47% of total revenue yedutua wages and salaries. Now sabe say if a teacher nya nche teacher in on tenefi no wachirade oboko school so they to school then school down so is or there a man chalk and make sure the blackboard wall. So if a nurse or they see hospital and send the nurse walk out na hospital no more why you do ma anamoboa. Say if a university lecturer sebe odonya a baby papa or to kwachira nkrofo adze into say them nkrofo for when now or they make sure so that you have enough money to create room to build the schools, to build the hospitals, to accommodate them. Teacher in all krasa done in you or doing your teacher accommodation that is decent or a responsibility of government. Sister Amunyoka say, look at the state of Ghana's roads. Our roads are bad. Our roads are extremely bad. Chede yen kanokwaro. But yen kwani na say okrum ho. Hwe sisi fin kran look okruma. Don't know why wadwendwen. Me kom constituency na why am adwendwen. E currently kwani na say we need to improve on our road network. It's the same money. It's the same money. We need to give some relief to the private sector to be able to employ. And to say, hey, dear, me konko for nyimpa 20,000, I have to pay it from somewhere. And so if I have to pay it somewhere, then I have to pay me the tax bugun krofuando. But why don't I rather remove some tax and allow them also to employ? So it's give and take, and I'm sure the kind of reliefs and the structure we are putting in place, things will change.
Okasa ti suche na say wo ka me ti ma ye de ana say
obi say na since wale hu den zaman sesa
de nyama mo de sesa na akase ombe yama na aye agina pim ti yama yen obi say keteka say man ka train wan say mo so be push e ka akwa from Accra to Kumasi.
Yes,
na so train kwan de man ka wan say
ofi wan na walk through into nyani na dakoro. You see, I don't believe in spreading myself too thin. I have very limited resources. I want to make impact. And to make impact, I select some areas, strong areas, make impact there and move to another area. Me spread the mohotena. Sebe fitia kotakrade. na say me sika no motuma ye 2 kilometers wa ha na makoye 2 kilometers wa ha na makoye 2 kilometers wa rather face it, finish one and move to 2 inti road na line ye nyimpa hin ye fa keteke wo krom ha eja afo keteke wo krom ha da
me from to the 96
edokwa hin
Kumasi to Dunkwa.
Okay, and you want to quit?
Okay.
So inti oye keteke. First of all, me fix ya kwani ya wase. We are keteke another train. It's used in Ghana. The most profitable line is the Western line. It can pay for itself because of the potentials of not only cocoa that we can haul, but manganese, bauxite, and all of that we can haul. And even using the Western line, I have a passion for the Western line, connecting it to Oye or from the Takrade Harbour, and using the Takrade Harbour as the dedicated port for the Sahel, and doing a railway line all the way to Hamile and creating an inland port in Hamile for the Sahel countries. That is a plan. It will cost about $6-7 billion. Today we do not have $6-7 billion. Looking at the kind of economy we have today, so we will plan in the medium term. But first and first, let's allow our children to go to school. Let's give our people good health care. Let's get the roads done. And then we'll move to have this done and create an enabling environment for businesses to survive. Then we can move into that. That's our priority.
Finance Minister to force yes what didn't come up now when you would try chichi
of course
who said budget in a told
okay
obi krasi to force a canning now brofo
of course
the unshadan tears here and the enya kwenya ama atofo se acheche ne ma ba quick one we de yemo no tofa na menim se be se da tenase abiebie wadi mu nkomo quick one yenwura mu e
well the raja mama na was in the first place said the bia me da wase na me check for na fi yenni atofo se nkomo emu nkomo yie na yenkyerɛkyerɛm the raja asɛm no me pese ye bɔ ne tofa because sa wahwa normally or kasa still abrof no da so bam ne nsɛm no so dɔso the raja atofo se nkoma odi nyina eye 2026 budget no ensema ewo mu no na o kyerɛ ne nyina mu dia ba yɛn kasa twim sɛ de ba yɛ obi abɛte ase na yɛ hu sɛ in 2026 eye wei anyway na yɛ kwakwayɛ na director ni tie atwa mu nyina ni according to finance minister o say 2026 budget no ni aim nyina ne say first place e be create jobs second place e ma ordinary Ghanaians no ho atɔ mo na in the third place upon side onyan economy na yenya ne yie no ensai biem enti development beba jobs beba ebema ordinary Ghanaians ho atɔ yen na mmom yenya ade a ebema economy no asai
atowo se akyese oye practical finance minister enye book mu die ni bi enye bible mu quotation yie
of course
enye budget ayekọ read white
sure
ya me twa what ya say
of course no ya agree because enkrofo bi kọ parliament akọridi budget omo ka nsem e ka we sakesie preach e quote bible verses nyina but at the end of the day you who results now with atoforsin nsem ya o kan no na me pese tutumu srani abasa kakra kyerɛkyerɛ mu ye na manfo hu clearly eniam e wo say expecting about with the developments any jobs no atoforsin emphatically wa kyerɛ mu say yentimi create jobs wa bra jobs ni nyina ya aban dey create because washa in the advanced countries no aban create jobs about 10% 20% na private sector no create 80 to 90% of jobs into the same thing and Ghana dey be here into jobs now we create no and yes ade chi minister of finance so there for police 450,000 there for nurses 100,000 na yenko a ban na for adwumafo nyina there be ebasa sika ye gigina fi bi as taxes no there the almost 47% etu adwumafo ka na ye adwumafo mpo omu nuru 2 million into say ye fa adwumafo 4 million na che say ye nya 1 cedi emfa to ho into basa ye nya kwan right ebasa ye nsi school ye nsi hospital ye ntusuo ye nya airport ye nya project and Ghana for so nim say ye pe projects into enei atofo sinema ya we say ye pe project ye sa pa adwuma into in the best place kwai obefo so ye benya adwuma na ye nya projects ni taxes na private companies ni tua no yente so enu nti na we covid levy afiri ho enu nti na what VAT rate so enu nti na NHIS levy no we afiri ho nti automatically omo ye businesses no what omo taxes so 6%. Said ye be omo benye sika bebre no ma bia nnwuma nim na omo fa amanfo akwagugum for private sector. Aside that on the government issue no say private sector need to me afa nipa bebre na just aban be save sika na aban save no yemfa nto ho se bi ye di kodi agro right to force ye hwe ye needs de ehia nei nto hwe ya o say railway ye nya kebeye kepese ye bi free takrade edikosi hamle in the upper west region said ye beye ina friend say port said the ye bwanka ni bi na omo kra niema edi free Burkina ni nije omo de fa ha no na nkoma koyi ni ho but say ye koye no a ebebo ye economy ni form said the MPP for ka kire ye say omo de sika ni nyina na ko free education enti na economy na say no on pese sa mistake ni bi pese bi enti enei right or ye expressway from Accra to Kumasi eno no ho kan esua aban no enough money ya e de be ye no na ye tima sisi schools awie hospitals awie market automatically e de jobs any sika beba na e de ba ne ye na aban ni nya so mfaso awie a na ya sa ti sa sika ni bi asamfaso e de akwakoye sa other projects ya anke ne ye ya e begu economy no right or the energy sector ka ho amanfo bisa o and a 24-hour economy and at the end day and at to force HM say economy ni be ya ni nyina gina energy sector
o say light na nyina so a obedai enya nkanea e de power adwuma
nti eno na aban ni dwen hu say enei ye were priorities bebre nemo de ehia be me economy ni sustain no eno na wo say oye nti at to force o kasa o se me on kase obi because what the adwuma to no so hwa ye no finance minister no adda ya approve no parliament and o say economy na say dollar na dwane but ono afa to no say obeye economy ni yie nti enei o kase bi o se me ogine hudi right to force say said ye be businesses ebegina na manufacturing companies say ne ye bom pay say omo employing for private sector no omo adwuma ni nkogo no right ye ba be thermal plant ye be produce energy light dia maye nti o se wo hwe yen population over 33 million say ye nya 1200 megawatts of power producer daily e ka de we hu a in the next 10 years light enum dabi enti atofo finance minister ya oyi enye 2025 to 2029 adwuma na oyi oye 2025 to 2035 oye adwuma na to order nti the next administration beba after President John Mahama abai no omo be benefit na the obasa to so they will also benefit nti enei right it is very simple in simple terms atofo sin ehun priorities what we problems and what we sika dodo aye wo say ye sika no so ye nya de be boy ya oman ni be ye enti wo te ba bi na ompa ye ne say aban ni fa adwumefo a waka o se nokre aban be fa adwumefo but ye ntimi mfa adwumefo dodo a ye expect no enti nurses oni controller ka obefa 13,000 education sector teachers no more education no e hon se obefa 13,000 the right ye ba be ye oil palm emu adwuma e hon so obefa nipa over 200,000 the right say o keka sector so nyina bum e the construction site no koka ho a na ye ko nipa 800,000 in 2026 direct and indirect employment. The right say oh we ya there was say ordinary Ghanaian udi she utirimu ne say enyema bo na ayedin no wabo ma nyema ne bo no e ba fom on pese ade beche obekwa ko kriti egwam se napco yemfa nipa 50,000 enkogum one day na ebe wie no na economy na kobo yenye die hia developments are very important jobs no so ebeba
commander yemfa we ni sia but then ebesa ba chei na ye pick story no wana na ye di hu nkomo ye pick nsam no ba ko a na ye di hu nkomo quick one ya cry fo nyina